guys. Welcome to this new edition of Mind Podcast. This is Aadit Kapadia welcoming you. I know it's been about a 10-day gap between the last one and this one, but we got two podcasts coming up in a very short time, a political podcast and an ideological podcast, which talks about ideological issues, cultural issues. It's going to be a fantastic one. I'm not going to give away much details about the second one, but the first one is going to focus on the big local body election results that happened in Gujarat this week. And we'll also talk about the state elections happening in various parts of India. We were waiting. Now the elections have been officially announced. So we'll talk about both the impact. And together with me, I've got a fantastic guest. I've got political analyst, a columnist, author from Gujarat, and a good friend, Chhayank Mehta. Hi, Chhayank. How are you?
Hi Adit, how are you?
And if anyone doesn't know, वो हमारी तरह ही politics पे काफी बकवास कर सकते हैं. So for all you political junkies, stay around. The next 30-40 minutes are going to be a lot of fun. So, Chhayank, what a week, right? Fantastic week for us political junkies. And after COVID, I mean, I don't say we are in the post-COVID era because COVID is still very much around. We are seeing another spike and thing. But after the whole 2020 thing, this seems like the first election where I know Bihar elections happened, but they happened under the shadow of COVID and stuff. So now it seems like the election season is finally up and kicking. How do you view this?
So I think if you look or watch the results closely, it's a kind of double bonanza because we had 8 seats in Vidhan Sabha which had gone to bypolls, if you can recollect.
Yes.
And BJP scored victory in all of them. In fact, Morbi was one seat which was kind of a matter of prestige for all those the Hardiks of the world, but that made it that the Patidar movement will eventually cost BJP. But BJP pulled through and with good numbers, they won that seat also, and they won all the 8 seats. And again this time. And in fact, if the numbers are to believe, BJP has actually bettered its performance compared to last municipal elections.
Absolutely. So actually, I wanted to give out some numbers here. So out of and I'm reading the numbers from the Times of India report. Basically, in Ahmedabad, the BJP's vote share went up to 50 to 54.5%. In Surat, the vote share of the BJP went slightly down from 51 to 48%. But Surat was the most fascinating one, where the Congress vote share went from 39.8 to 18%, and the Aam Aadmi Party's vote share went up to about 28%. Right. In Rajkot, BJP again 53%, Bhavnagar 52%, Jamnagar 50%, and in Baroda 57%, the highest. So the BJP has almost crossed the 50% margin everywhere except for Surat, where it's 48.9%. So it's just unbelievable. And this is after 15-20 years of being in power.
Absolutely. I think, see, Adit, if since you traveled to Ahmedabad, if I'm not wrong, last year you were in Ahmedabad.
Last year, actually, exactly when we met. Yeah,
when we had met. And Narendra Bhai, I still remember when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And you see, typically our mentality is such, especially in case of civic body elections, whenever some new work is going on, new roads are being developed, new bridges and new overbridges are being constructed, the daily commuters face some problem till the time the construction work is going on. And traditionally, the scenario was that the incumbents were voted out. Why? Because the people used to feel, यार boss road पे यार road का चक्का जाम लगा हुआ है, काम हो रहा है, काफी टाइम से खत्म नहीं हो रहा है, पाइप डाल रहे पानी के, काम खत्म नहीं हो रहा है. The people have actually become far-sighted, if you can recollect. And Narendra Bhai used to say this thing very in a nice manner, that you in Ahmedabad, in Rajkot, in Baroda, in Surat, or in Jamnagar, you go to in any corner, north, east, west, south, for 10 kilometers, and you will see some development work going on. Message was that if अगर खड्डा खुद रहा है वहां पे, which means that government is working over there. If a dam, if a bridge is being constructed, which means that the government, the local body is actually functioning. So people are having a force. People have become far-sighted that look, we are facing problems as commuters, but the work which is going on, the civic bodies are doing work for us. Secondly, most important, if you can see, the overall voting percentage was somewhat low than expectation. And I completely appreciate there were a lot of people, there were apprehensions about COVID also. So a lot of people have actually not stepped out of their houses considering the fear of Corona. Despite this, they are able to breach that 50% margin, and they are able to maintain that winning streak. I think it's a very important stat for
So
us.
to play devil's advocate here, a lot of people say that it's the BJP faithful that always comes out, and the people who might not leaning towards BJP were skeptical of COVID. Right? This is an excuse, and the other excuse, usually the वो भी देते हैं कि there is a, if the opposition were to get together, they would have lost. But इसमें तो ये भी नहीं होता because BJP has mostly gotten more than 50% everywhere. So I don't know, but what would you give respond to those people if they tell you this logic?
No, I think I see you have to understand two, three factors very importantly. I think this is the first time, last time when you were in Ahmedabad, we had discussed that Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation is expanding its limits. A lot of areas which were in erstwhile Ahmedabad rural areas, they have now been incorporated within Ahmedabad's urban areas also. Again, you have to understand that Ahmedabad is no more a typical Gujarati city, it's becoming a cosmopolitan city. We are seeing a lot of migrants who are staying here in Ahmedabad, Rajkot, Surat also. Surat is having a huge migrant population. So to counter them, let me tell them very clearly that was the numbers are clearly indicative of the fact that everyone who is staying here in Gujarat, they are actually witnessing development, and people have become, as I mentioned earlier, also that they have become far-sighted. People can see that okay, the work for metro rail is under development, work for bullet train is under development, work for the sports complex, the much controversial thing which was there in the last 2-3 days, it's under development. Riverfront is being developed on all sides. So people are seeing development, and people are genuinely voting for good governance.
And there is one thing also, right? Among the Congress, if I ask anyone who is the new leader that you have seen emerge out of the Congress in Gujarat, and most people will take the name of Hardik Patel. And Hardik Patel is not even a Congress leader. He's come out of this past agitation, and he has been a total failure as the Congress president. In fact, the people who supported this agitation supported AAP this time in Surat. That is
Absolutely.
why AAP has gotten the vote, and it may have gotten some urban votes here and there, but by and large, the Congress vote that went, or the pass vote, so to speak, of the reservation went to that. Now, what people don't understand is that it's not that if BJP does not get the pass Patel vote, and again, the Patel vote is also divided. It's not a monolith, right? But there are some caste compositions where some castes who are not happy about the Patel agitation, who have voted for the Congress, will actually come back in the BJP fold, which is why we
Absolutely.
saw the return of Alpesh Thakur.
Absolutely. In fact, if you consider these elections, I think this is a watershed moment in Gujarat politics. Last Vidhan Sabha elections and by elections, Alpesh Thakur technically now he's in BJP. Technically, he's now relegated to and he's now nowhere. He's nowhere, right? Hardik Patel, we have seen he has been a failure in all this 8 by elections. He has been a failure in local body elections.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at, I was just going to highlight, but since you have raised the question, the winning streak of AIMIM, Oasis party in minority dominated pockets in Ahmedabad, they got 7 seats this time.
7 wards, yeah.
Okay, mark my words, OAC is going to play this card very well, and he will certainly field candidates where he understands that there is a demographic advantage available to his party. And one of the seats which would witness, if at all, it's my hunch that one of the seats which would witness a multi-corner contest is Vadgam, because Vadgam, the demographics are such which actually favor AIMIM. So actually now somebody who is actually facing a threat to his political career is Mr. Jignesh Mewani.
Absolutely. And AIMIM, sorry, I said 7 wards, I misspoke, 7 seats basically.
7
and
seats.
AIMIM got 3.94% of the vote. So almost 4% of the vote, and this was just in Ahmedabad. You have pockets in Banaskantha, you have pockets in Vadgaon. There are seats where this might happen. And if AIM over the state gets about 2 or 3% of the vote, it may not seem much, but in pockets it could be 10 to 15%. That could be quite significant.
Absolutely. And I think if that happens, believe me, again, of course, it will lead to polarization of votes also, because we all know what does Mr. Owaisi stand for, and the kind of speeches he makes and the kind of ideology he supports. So yes, certainly he's going to polarize the votes. And most importantly, I think if I'm not wrong, the Election Commission rule says that if you are able to garner 3% or more votes in a state election, you actually get recognized as a state party.
Wow, really?
So I think yes, I think there is this norm.
He's trying to do that in Gujarat and Maharashtra, because Maharashtra, though he's actually had 3 MLAs in Maharashtra.
Yes, absolutely.
So It's going to be interesting, right? And I mean, not that Chhayank and I agree with OIC, we disagree with him, but there is one thing that's the reality, that he is getting votes. So what do you do about it, right? I mean, he's going to stand in West Bengal also, he's standing in Uttar Pradesh also, and I almost feel like he's projecting himself to be a pan India party to for sections of the Muslim community, like Mayawati was to the Dalit community. That is what I think he's trying to do. I don't know if he's going to succeed, because there are a lot of divisions there also. Like, I don't think he's going to go to Mallapuram and do that in Kerala.
No, he won't be doing that. And secondly, I think Adit, the most important part is in this case of elections also. I tweeted this also, that for years the Gujarati community as such and Gujarati voters as such have been demonized by mainstream media for voting BJP. Despite 2002, and if you recollect, I think today is one of the, I mean, yesterday was the anniversary of Godhra carnage, if you can recollect. So the Gujarati population per se has been demonized a lot, and whenever you try to polarize something in the name of secularism, it also creates counter polarization also, and this is what has happened in Gujarat. They demonize Gujarati voters enough that now they are pissed off with this so-called secular politics.
Let's move from that point to the whole AAP debate, right? Because a lot of people are saying that there is some stunning emergence of the AAP, and people are having the same sort of 2014 memories ki AAP to urban constituencies mein aa jayengi, and people of urban India will suddenly start wake up, and just like 5,000 people showed up to Nazar in Mumbai, 5,000 votes also it will get. Like, so what do you make of that?
So see, factually speaking, I think what happened was that there are 2-3 power centers in PAS movement also. Okay, so PAS is the main body from which Hardik Patel emerged as a leader. After Hardik joined Congress, another fellow was Alpesh Kathiria. Alpesh Kathiria was sent to jail because he was charged for waging war against the country, and he was involved in riot and arson. Now, PAS group was actually trying desperately to get tickets from Congress. Hardik somehow was not able to manage that, and somehow Congress, all those requests to give tickets to PAS leaders fell on deaf ears, and Congress tried to play tricks that we'll look into this and we'll look into that. And then when PAS realized that this time the Congress is not going to support them, or Congress is not going to give tickets to their candidates, what they did was that en masse they shifted towards Aam Aadmi Party. And if you recollect, I think this is not the first time. If you can recollect, the same thing happened during Gujarat Vidhan Sabha elections also in 2017. And one of the candidates, I think Lalit Vasoya in Jamnagar, he was one person. He has also emerged from this entire party that movement also. And there was a lot of issues and a lot of controversy which had happened. That past leaders were actually telling him that you should not have contested from Congress party. You should have taken ticket. But eventually he contested, and then again there was some back channel.
Historically, in this whole celebration of the calm alliance that on Congress came up in 1985, which drives me nuts every time it's pulled up, because Rajdeep and everyone will talk about the calm alliance, which is Kshatriya, Harijan, Adivasi Muslim alliance that Madhavji Solanki came up with, where he got 149 seats out in 1985. But no one talks about in 1990 how he got wiped out to 32 seats.
Right? Exactly.
Because he kept the Patels out of power. He managed to demonize a significant sect of Gujarati population, some from the upper caste, some from the trading community. And he didn't do anything for the communities that he represented. I mean, said, like, the amount of riots that you saw from 1985 onwards, the amount of tribal issues that came up, right? Except for a few pockets of where these same leaders were, in their MLA seats, and whoever the Bahubalis of those MLA areas, they did good stuff for them, but they didn't do anything for the state.
Second, see, I think you made a very important point that he got so many seats using that calm card. But imagine, despite doing this, he was not, till Narendra Bhai came in, he was not the longest serving chief minister of the state. It was Hitendra Desai.
Yeah.
Right? So despite
who the Congress hated, look up Hitendra Desai and look up Indira Gandhi, and Hitendra Desai was from the Congress.
Yes. He never played that card. It was Madhavji Solanki who played that card and still couldn't retain. Still couldn't remain in office for long as much as Hitendra Desai remained in office. So I think Gujarat elections, Gujarati population per se, which is often said for us that we Gujaratis per se are having foresight, and they maintain. They have this kind of affinity for those leaders who will play a rebellious role against the center, against anyone who actually tries to do harm to Gujarat. And one of the reasons Chimanbhai Patel was very popular among Gujaratis because he used to take on Indira Gandhi. That was, if you don't do justice to Gujarat, I won't take it lightly. You know, Chimanbhai had some fan following among elders because of this.
Still does.
So yeah, still does. And Narendra Bhai is after Chimanbhai, it was Narendra Bhai who then came up with this idea that was Gujarat is at stake and you cannot do my state.
Chimanbhai Patel's stance on Sardar Sarovar was also very against what the Congress's was.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And in fact, Chimanbhai was, if I'm not wrong, if my memory serves me right, Chimanbhai was a vocal supporter of ban on cow slaughter.
Ajay, I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, yes, if my memory serves me, he was one of those Congress leaders. He was vocal about ban on cow slaughter.
But here is the thing, right? You have Chimanbhai, you had Amarsi Chaudhary, you had Madhavsi Solanki, and you had I forget Prabodh Rawal, right? All of these four leaders, their kids have right now in the last 25 years, they have just done passing the parcel. They give the Gujarat president, उसमें से एक दो आ गए, गढ़वी आ गया, BK Gadhvi came, you had Paresh Dhanani come, you had that Shakti Singh Goyal come, Arjun Modhwadia come. So it's just these 5-6 people give passing the parcel, but there is no one pan Gujarat leader they have, nor do they have that connect which their dads had, even with their local masses. Right? Like, I cannot imagine Madhavsi Solanki losing his MLA seat like Shakti Singh Goyal lost.
Yes, yes.
It just wouldn't happen because he would know whatever said and done, he has to win his own. Or even Waghela losing a Lok Sabha seat after he went from BJP to Congress, right? So what I don't understand is, has Gujarat Congress lost the connect with the people, and are they trying to become a Rahul Gandhi Congress where they take that leftist position, which Gujaratis are not traditionally leftists?
Yes, I think this is one of the facts which has happened. And believe me, I don't know if the grapevine are to be believed, but I have heard grapevines that there is a lot of resentment among the leaders of Gujarat Congress that the kind of ideology which Mewani supports, look what happened. Mewani, he contested as an independent because of tacit support of Congress, and eventually that fellow goes to Lok Sabha elections and then starts support CPI. So see, when as a local leader, when you go to your constituency, people are going to ask you questions, right? That was, what are you doing? How are you supporting this fellow? So there is a lot of resentment within Congress also. It is not coming out, but yes, I've heard that there is a lot of resentment in Congress. And if you recollect, even at the peak of 2002 riots, if the reports are to believe, there were a lot of Congress cadres also who have been charged that they were involved in riot and arson against the minorities. And if you recollect that incident where Amarsi Chaudhary has actually named 3 Congress leaders that Ehsan Jafri could not be saved because his own Congress leaders didn't supported him, went to save him. There is an article in Times of India on this.
Really?
Yeah, there's an article. Amarsi Chaudhary has actually named those guys. And one of the leaders he has named is Himmat Singh Patel, who is right now an MLA from Bapu Nagar.
He was the mayor or something, right? Or in the and so I don't understand what is going on, right? But let's expand this. Let's expand this discussion to pan state level, right? And we're going to go to the other states in 5 minutes, guys, because Chhayank and I can talk about Gujarat and history for about at least 3 hours more. What do you think in 2022? I know it's 2 years away, but Gujarat elections is at that weird, strange point, which is 1.5 years away from the national campaign. And since what Narendra Bhai did after December 2012, pretty much kick-started his national campaign from that. It almost, because UP happens 8 months before, then Gujarat, Himachal, they all happen. And then the national campaign starts, and then you have Karnataka, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. So that's pretty much how it works. So what do you think will happen? Like, because if the BJP doesn't come to power in Gujarat, it is going to be a humongous thing. But does it look likely that the BJP will lose power in Gujarat?
Not that because I'm sympathetic to BJP but I think the kind of reading which I'm seeing and the kind of discussions I have with people, nobody sees any other alternative. People are actually seeing BJP as the only alternative to vote for. Secondly, Adit, I think one thing which we missed, and very important aspect which nobody is discussing is the very fact that BJP has won civic body elections is also a testimony to the fact that people have actually trusted the way state government has dealt with Corona. recollect when the plague thing happened in Surat, soon after that, Congress was wiped out from the state because
Yeah.
of mishandling of plague,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
if despite Corona and despite the fact that actually judiciary had come down heavily on the state government, of course, it was an unprecedented situation and state government did its best, tried its best to do. Despite this, if the people have voted, which means that people are trusting the way state machinery, civic body machineries have handled the entire crisis.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
So
this is an important factor, and I think this is one of the reason. And by the time we reach to 2022, I think metro would have been constructed. A lot
yeah.
of other things, projects are under pipeline. New airports have been sanctioned. Ahmedabad airport has already been under development with Adani. So I think people are going to vote for BJP only. I don't see any chance. And these guys, the trio, I think Alpesh is now with BJP. So anyways, there's one wicket down. And the remaining two guys, I told you that Hardik, he is facing struggle from within his own party. By 2022, I doubt he would remain as Congress working president. And as far as Jignesh is concerned, his own seat might be threatened because OSC might be seeing an opportunity on that particular seat.
Yeah, right now I think Vijay Rupani is the second longest BJP chief minister in Gujarat, because I think he's served longer than Keshubai,
Yeah.
because it's
Yes.
been for 4 years and 201 days, and Keshubai has only been for, I think, a total of 4 years or less than that even.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 4 years and a little bit more, but I think Rupani has served longer than Keshubai. Yeah.
And most important factor in this, Keshubai also faced a crisis. When Keshubai was in the office, Gujarat faced earthquake, if you can recollect.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I mean, the whole, I mean, he was moved out of power because of what happened, with the bipoles and everything. So, how do you
Yes.
view that?
So, see, I think that as I mentioned, that the way things have been managed, and Vijay, see, he continues to carry that good impression. People actually trust him. That people actually realize that here is a man. Uh, he may not be as verbose. He may not be as vocal as Narendra Bhai, but people trust his leadership. That here is a man. He won't do anything wrong as sitting chief minister.
Absolutely,
The
absolutely.
pace might be slow. He might be like a tortoise, but he will reach the finish line.
Also, he seemed to be very, very, very clean, right? Compared
Yes,
to compared to the options on the other side in the Congress. so,
absolutely.
so that's Gujarat. Let's go to the other states where the elections have been announced: West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Kerala, and Puducherry, the Union Territory of. So, how do you view Bengal and Tamil Nadu are the big prizes, right?
Yeah.
How do you view Bengal? What do you think is happening there?
So I think I had a chat with few of my friends who are in West Bengal, and they said that West Bengal is a typical state where you would never see a hung assembly kind of situation. People of Bengal always vote on the extreme lines. So either they would vote entirely for left, either they would vote entirely for TMC, or either they would vote for entirely BJP. And this time scenario looks like that BJP is gaining a strong foothold in West Bengal. And I think the winds of change are actually blowing in West Bengal.
Interesting. So there are people. I mean, I don't know how.
And I think there is a Gujarat Connect in West Bengal also. If you can recollect, few days back, Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, who is a Gujarati from West Bengal, he
Yeah,
actually resigned from his Rajya Sabha
Trinamool
seat.
Congress. Yeah.
He was a tall leader of TMC, if
Oh,
you can recollect.
absolutely. And now the national media, especially from the left, are wondering who the hell to praise as the railway minister, because they spent all these years praising Dinesh Trivedi as the railway minister, and if he resigns and goes to the BJP or goes closer to the BJP, they'll be shocked. कि अरे भाई अब तो गाली देनी पड़ेगी दिनेश त्रिवेदी.
Yes.
So uh, it's interesting. Basically, what and Dinesh Trivedi and Mamta's sort of rift is well known. I mean, this happened even 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Bengal BJP won 18 seats, Lok Sabha seats last time, and BJP is comfortably, you can see, will cross 100. The whole debate is, are they going to get closer to 140, which is the magic number? Now, conventionally, I would not say this would happen, because usually we have seen that the voters might vote differently in state and nationally. In Orissa, you saw that, where BJP got 6 or 7 Lok Sabha seats, but they got a disproportionate lesser number of MLAs there in
Right.
Orissa Assembly. So, do you see that happening? Right? I mean, there is a chance, but this is a very unconventional election, because there is genuine concern amongst the people in West Bengal that the TMC is targeting a lot of people who are not friendly to the party.
Right. I think the most important is what differentiates Odisha from West Bengal as a bystander, if I can say, is that in Odisha, there are two things. I think Naveen Patnaik, again, like Vijay Bhai, carries a clean impression, right? So there is a lot of emotional connect also with him, and he has an emotional connect with the people also. And he has been managing things very well. In fact, I met a gentleman from Odisha in January. He told me that you may not find electricity in some city of Odisha, but there won't be a single village in Odisha where you won't find electricity. Naveen Babu actually managed that. So, but in Bengal, I think Bengal somewhere, because the way for 30 long years it was with left, and then it has been TMC. The kind of development it should have witnessed, it is still not witnessing that development. I think an average Bengali is actually now looking for that. They need kind of development. They need to shun that image that was this is a left den, and nothing can happen. No industrialization can take place in this particular state. So they, yes, I think one of the reasons what differentiates between Odisha and that there is genuine amount of anti-incumbency also prevailing against Mamata Banerjee.
And security is a big thing, right? Like,
Yes.
people misunderstand, or they don't sort of give the importance how much security plays an important role in people making their decision. If they feel threatened by those who are supposed to be in power, by the cadres of those who are supposed to be in power, they are going to vote them out, right?
Exactly.
And vice versa, even if they are not performing that much on economic front, but they are providing a stable, secure government where they can prosper, and they are not worried about whether the time they step out of the house they might be hit by something, then they do tend to reward those parties.
Yes, and I think, see, Bengal is also one state which has tremendous amount of high sub-nationalist feelings, right? They have tremendous amount of that pride about the Bengali culture, literature. Now, somebody told me, I was having a chat with another Bengali friend, and he told me that Citizenship Amendment Act, I think the people are thinking that CA आएगा तो सबसे बड़ा impact जम्मू कश्मीर में पड़ेगा या असम में पड़ेगा. But in fact, there are a lot of takers of and supporters of CA in Bengal. There are a lot of refugees who have come from Bangladesh and actually are waiting that their number comes and they become citizens of India.
Yeah.
There's this connect also, and that particular connection also will work in favor of BJP.
Also, I have to tell people that all these Meena Harrises and people in America try talk about how farm laws is a pan-India issue and pan-national issue. Why is no single campaign in Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and talking in detail about farm laws? In fact, Rahul Gandhi tried to talk about farm laws, forgetting, and proposed APMC in Kerala, forgetting Kerala doesn't have APMC. So yeah, you have people in areas of Western UP, in areas of Haryana, in Punjab, who may have some legitimate concerns, but the government has asked 15 to 16 times for talks. Yeah, you can't just completely indefinite hold repeal karo, because the government has said the MSP is not going. The government has said, and I mean, I don't want to get into discussion about the farm laws because we've had many on my podcast. Do check it out. But that's what I was trying to say. So let's move on from Bengal to Tamil Nadu. Okay.
But I think one thing which we should be looking at is that in 2022, because see, Gujarat was one of the first states to come out and say support farm laws. In 2022, we will see the impact of those farm laws, if at all, being implemented in Gujarat also. And Gujarati farmers are known for their business acumen. You have farmers who are actually selling directly to companies like McCain. They're selling directly to company, and Amul is the biggest success story where farmers have actually worked together and have set up a giant corporate, and now farmers are actually working with private sector also here in Gujarat.
Absolutely. So I mean, I don't know, how to view this, but I mean, for the want of time, I have to move from Bengal to Tamil Nadu. And what do you think? Tamil Nadu people are saying that it's not as easy for Stalin and DMK and Congress as people are making out to be. The Anna DMK and the BJP NDA alliance is putting up a good fight.
Yes, I heard I heard similar thing. What I was told was that if you had asked, one of my friend told me that if you had asked me this question last year, that how does election look like in Tamil Nadu, I would have completely said that DMK is going to come to power. Yeah. But now I am saying that no, DMK is facing run for its votes. AIADMK is putting out and what he said, I think he made a very important point. I don't know whether I should be saying this publicly, but he said that DMK cadre in Tamil Nadu is now similar to what is accused of Samajwadi Party cadre. That was sort of I mean, stubborn guys. They do that kind of gundagardi or bahubali kind of netas have come up in Tamil Nadu, and every local neta has become a bahubali in Tamil Nadu. And then I mean, what he told me was that if DMK comes to power in Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu will shun its image of ease of doing business. Under Paneer Selvam, I think Tamil Nadu ease of doing business, it has actually achieved ease of doing business. And the CM is actually taking some action against all those people, all these hoodlums, all these people who are doing illegal things and who are trying to threaten genuine businesses. He is taking action against them.
And what do you view? Like a lot of people are saying that ADMK is running a very local campaign and BJP sometimes is taking the national issues, the cultural issues. Do you see that interesting dichotomy? And it's not really a dichotomy as much as it's proving to be an asset in a place like Tamil Nadu.
I think BJP, typically the way the election machinery of BJP works, I think they play a long game. Instead of playing a short-sighted game, they usually play a far-sighted game. And somewhere I think they will establish a connect between local issues, which I think they will rely on AIADMK. And eventually when the connect starts happening and then ripples are, they will start seeing ripple effect of it, I think nationalist issues will come into play.
Fascinating. So this is again, guys, we're going to do detailed deep dives into all these states. This is only us giving a quick preview of what's going to happen, but over the weeks we'll do deep dive in each and every state and their issues. How do you view Kerala, right? Do you see Kerala again? Like, it's a very strange thing, right? BJP seems to have potential and then it holds back every time in state elections. Every time people get excited, every time they hold back. So, and I don't think they are holding back per se, but there is also like, where will the votes go? Do people do strategic voting? So how does that work?
I think BJP, what I think it's missing probably in Kerala, I think it's a strong face. That was one thing, because the moment you give a strong face to the party, people might vote. And I think recently, like we witnessed local body polls in Gujarat, I think there are some local body elections in Kerala where BJP has emerged victorious, and people are actually connecting it with that this might replicate in Vidhan Sabha also. And in fact, we have been talking for long that I think Trivandrum would be the first seat, because for long BJP is doing a photo finish on that particular seat.
Yeah, so they have managed one Vidhan Sabha seat in Nemom, which is a part of the Trivandrum thing, but they need more sort of, and they need younger faces also. When Raja Gopal, who has been a very loyal worker for the BJP, but he's, I think, 90 plus. So now,
but now we have the Metro Man also in the party.
I have a lot of respect for Mr. Sridharan, but he's not exactly young also. He's also 88.
Yes,
so that's what I'm saying. So he will be a good asset, and I think he should be accommodated in the advisory committee and of the national government. But you also need one young face probably leading the party, and who's that? I think K. Surendran and all of them, and they're there.
But I think we discussed some time back. I think, and at that point of time, I had asked that why not Suresh Gopi? I think why he doesn't hog that kind of limelight, which I think he ideally should.
Well, so here is the weird thing, right? In Kerala, movie stars have worked, but not as much as in Tamil Nadu or Andhra. Right? I mean, how many movie stars have you seen become chief ministers of Kerala, right? And compare that to Andhra and or even MPs, right? So it's very different. I mean, there is, I think, Innocent one. There is a movie actor called Innocent who won once or twice, and I mean, there must be a few here and there, but not as much as you see. So I think that culture also doesn't exist that automatically fans now, unless if Mohanlal or Mammootty, one of them would come, then we'll see a whole different thing. And that's Mohanlal is going to be a part of my recommendations this week, because I have been floored by his latest movie. So we're going to talk about that little later. But from Kerala, Puducherry is a very interesting thing, right? Narendra Modi made a trip there. Narayanaswamy government lost a no confidence motion a week before the election. Right? So it's no longer even a caretaker government. And Narayanaswamy's position himself was wrong, because Congress projected someone else as the chief minister, and then suddenly they got close to power, and Narayanaswamy was paratrooped overnight as the because he's obviously a Gandhi family loyalist, and they still haven't learned, right? This happened in Madhya Pradesh, where Kamal Nath was paratrooped overnight. This happened in Rajasthan. So or Rajasthan mein to khair Gehlot is a little more popular than all of these people, but ye pehle se raha hai, and it's always backfired.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you if Congress had ever won Gujarat, you would have seen a guy called Madhusudan Mistry also in contention to be the chief minister, right? He
Oh,
participated.
absolutely, absolutely.
But
In fact, he would have been more popular. He would have been the one who would be calling the shots in the state
no,
unit.
but I have to tell you one very funny thing before we come to Puducherry, guys. I don't know. So there was this, I think Gujarat elections 2007 or 12. There was a discussion happening, and Veer Sanghvi was one of the panelists. Now, Veer is obviously from Mumbai, stays in Delhi, but he's a Gujarati also. So he was asking, what do you think about the Congress? He's like, Congress doesn't take Gujaratis or Gujarat seriously, so they are not going to get votes. So some Congress spokesperson said that no, we take very seriously. We have some very senior leaders. So Veer is like, "Acha, name them." And he said, "Arey, why? We have people like Madhusudan Mistry." And so Veer started laughing. He's like, "Who?" And he's like, Madhusudan Mistry. He's like, exactly my point. This is why no Gujaratis take Congress seriously. Listen to him right now, who he named as the senior leader. So, and this is Veer Sanghvi is no fan of the BJP. But I'm saying even him, who might be a little sympathetic to an old Madhavrao Scindia Congress, was laughing at the prospect of Madhusudan Mistry being lead. I mean, he's passed away, and right now, and I mean, but he was seen very close to the Gandhi family. And usko Rajya Sabha seat, the biggest thing was he used to get Rajya Sabha seat, him, and there was another guy, I forget, Praveen Chheda or someone who used to get the Rajya Sabha seat. I forget the name. No, Praveen Rashtrapal. Because he was the neutral candidate amongst all sides, which no one felt threat from.
Yes.
So
I think one thing which I think since you have raised this point about Gujarati Congress leaders also, if you notice, and if you even ask your family members also, they never held this kind of leftist positions which their central leadership holds. They always used to strike that balance, and the one reason, see, even in Anand also for long, Bharat Solanki, he has a dedicated vote bank over there. He commands a dedicated vote bank, and in their local campaigns they never used to do this kind of pandering to a certain section of votes, which the national leadership does. And if you recollect, recently only in Jamnagar, Vikram Madam's video had come up where he said that I am absolutely fine if an Ahir's daughter gets married to a Muslim, and there was a lot of controversy, and he had to come and he had to express that I never wanted to hurt anybody. So local Congress leaders were actually aware of the fact that
Vikram Madam got defeated by his own brother's daughter, Poonam Ben.
Yes, Poonam Ben. And Poonam Ben is doing a fantastic job, and the kind of popularity that lady has in Jamnagar is unmatched. I have been to Jamnagar during elections.
I went there 2-3 years ago, and I think Poonam Ben became in 2014, and I was there in 2017, and then probably will go back when I'm there. And of course Jamnagar being what it has with the refinery and all that. So go on, yeah.
In fact, the biggest zoo is coming up in Jamnagar, if you recall.
No, I would like these. See, that's another thing. You cannot. Rahul Gandhi keeps talking nonsense about Adani, Ambani, all these people. You cannot come to Gujarat and demonize the private sector, man. And trust me, people have, if there are issues with Adani and Ambani specific projects, question them. But people do have respect for what they have done. You cannot go to bloody Jamnagar and see what Reliance's refinery has done.
Absolutely. Not only this, I mean, see, Jamnagar is still, it had all the facilities. What Adanis did in Mundra, a place where nobody was even ready to give a second look to that particular piece of land, it was a wasteland. They constructed one of the most successful ports over there, and probably one of the highest amount of traffic is handled by that port. Yeah. And you are demonizing them. Every single landowner, I mean, everyone who used to hold land over there has become a millionaire overnight.
So I don't understand. And then you had this nonsense controversy when I was at the Motera saying that it's named Adani and Reliance. It was always Adani Pavilion India. From when it was Adani Pavilion End. Not when I was born, but I'm saying since I started watching cricket, it was Adani Pavilion End.
But see, I asked my friends who are sympathetic to the Congress that, see, boss, you have a problem with a stadium being named after the Prime Minister of India. Fine. First of all, the stadium doesn't come under Sports Ministry. It is a BCCI body, and BCCI is technically not under Sports Ministry. It's a private body. Secondly, you have the highest sporting award of India named after Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, whose contribution to sports, I think we should we won't even cannot even write a line about him, about his contribution to the field of sports. I mean, what contribution has he done to the field of sports? But still, we have one of the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award is there named after him.
But still, see, that's secondary. People can have positions on them, but on namings of the stadium and stuff, I personally am of the opinion maybe it was avoidable right now, maybe it could have been done later. I honestly don't know. I don't have a position on it, but if I were to do it, maybe after the prime minister's reign was complete, that's when you could have had the renaming.
But in fact, if you recollect, in Rajkot also, the older cricket stadium, if I'm not wrong, you can just Google it. I think the older cricket stadium was named after Madhavji Solanki, Madhavji Scindia, Madhavrao Scindia.
Yeah, it was. I think so. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, and that's the thing, right? It really depends on where you stand on it. Personally, like that is my favorite, Old Trafford and stuff. So named after, the name changes every few years depending on the sponsorship. So I think it should be left with the individual cricket association, and if you have an issue with that, take it up with them. Or fight the elections and change the damn name. Kya farak padta hai?
Exactly. Adit, I don't know. I see there are bigger experts sitting there. As a common man, I am seeing this. I often travel with in a cab or in a rickshaw, and I have a word with while traveling, while commuting. I have a word with them. And some time back, I was traveling in a rickshaw, and the rickshaw wala was from Uttar Pradesh. And the only thing he said was, "क्या काम किया है यहाँ पे? कि हम तो जाते गांव में तो बताते." These fellows don't realize that they are mouthing off this kind of nonsense in wherever they go in those respective states. But the migrant population which is staying here, जब ये दिवाली में होली में जाते हैं अपने घरों में, they actually tell success stories about Gujarat कि बस वहाँ पे कितना अच्छा काम हो रहा है, वहाँ पे कितनी security है, कितना development हुआ है.
But yeah, exactly. But I mean, my personal position is probably they should have waited a little bit if they wanted to. I personally wouldn't have objected if it happened. But I don't object it right now because I honestly don't think it's a big deal. It's a cricket stadium, yaar. Aapko jo rakhna ho, wo rakho. But it's a beautiful cricket stadium. And a lot of people are like, you don't have a position. I was like, I don't. I mean, I just don't. I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, I have no problem. I didn't outrage when they named there is a YS Rajshekhara Reddy Stadium in Vizag, or there is a Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium in Hyderabad. People could argue there is also any okay. Now, if people really want to, there was the old stadium in Hyderabad was, I think, named after Lal Bahadur Shastri, right? They constructed a new stadium and they named it after Rajiv Gandhi. Did people outrage why it was from Lal Bahadur Shastri and you named it to Rajiv Gandhi?
I think not only this, if you recollect, just before 2014 elections, if you can recollect, the UPA had, just to get Ajit Singh on board, they renamed the Lucknow airport as Chaudhary Charan Singh Airport. You remember the airport was renamed?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, it's a controversy, and I was okay had they kept the old name of the stadium, the Sardar Patel Gujarat Stadium, and but I'm glad that the sports enclave is named after Sardar Patel, because it's probably, if Ahmedabad is going to be hosting a international event, like going to bid for the Commonwealth Games or even God forbid the Olympics or something, it would be hosted at the Sardar Patel Sports Enclave. It's not going to be. It's not.
I'm getting messages that whenever now the Cricket World Cup will be held in India, the final match would be played in Motera Stadium. Or the newly.
That I predicted from 5 years ago. I think the whole concept. No, why? I think the T20 World Cup final this year might be held at Motera.
Possible, yeah, very much possible.
I mean, you have the biggest stadium in the world. Why the hell would you not hold it? Like,
absolutely.
And Motera. I mean, I think we also need to start having final. I would be even supportive if they had a final match of a major tournament in Indore. There are tier 2 cities, or Ahmedabad is certainly not a tier 2 city, but beyond Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, we have to look at other grounds also and make sure that cricket goes everywhere. So that's my rant. But we completely forgot we were talking about Puducherry. So we'll finish with Puducherry and go to the recommendations. I think BJP has a chance of springing a surprise this time. And there might be some spillover effect into Tamil Nadu from that. Not significant, but some areas bordering. And then there is also the demographic issue on the coastal Tamil Nadu side, where there might be a little bit of polarization as well.
Yes. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing similar stories because I have CA friends over there. I have friends from other networking organizations, and they are also sharing the same story. In fact, one of the conspiracy theories is, it might sound funny or it might sound interesting, that the entire election machinery of AIADMK is having a tacit support of BJP. I mean, BJP is actually guiding them that how you should run state election machinery.
Hmm.
Because see, I think Tamil Nadu elections. It has been often been alleged that Tamil Nadu elections is all about money. Who gives the highest amount? Who sheds out the highest amount of money actually wins the elections. And we had all those schemes of pressure cooker and Mangal Sutra and computer. I think that Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi had come out with competing schemes with each other. Somebody said they will give Mangal Sutra. Somebody said will give rice and education and cash incentive. So the entire election is all about those incentives. And despite of this, if people are saying that BJP is in the reckoning, I think the state election leaders and the national leadership and the entire machinery should be appreciated for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a different story, but if at all they are in the reckoning, people are seeing them as into consideration. I think they must be appreciated for this.
Absolutely. And then if they do come to power, which I hope they do, the only reason, I mean, apart from the obvious reason where I'd want to see Narayan out, the only reason I hope, another reason was, get rid of this nonsensical Hindi, non-Hindi debate, man. It's just unbelievable. The kind of rubbish that is said on Twitter, my goodness. Moving forward, so here is our take on Gujarat and the other states. I want to talk about recommendations this week. It has English subtitles. I don't understand Malayalam, yet I enjoyed it. The ending is beautiful. And when you watch this Drishyam 2, you almost feel that Drishyam 1 was literally just, set up for what this. You don't feel like this is a sequel coming 8 years later, 8 or 9 years later. It's beautiful.
So is it available on OTT platforms?
It's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime. Okay.
Yeah. So please do watch it, guys, and please, let me know what you thought about it. It's an excellent film. What is your recommendation this week, Chad?
So my recommendation, I think I'll go a bit offbeat. I think I just started with it that because see, my mother is from Saurashtra, my wife is from Saurashtra, so I have some amount of sympathy and some amount of attachment for Saurashtra. This time I'll recommend that you read about a fellow called Jogidas Kumar. He was an outlaw and he had gone on a war with the Maharaja of Bhavnagar. And eventually, when the father of Maharaja of Bhavnagar died, it was Jogidas Kumar who performed all the last rituals.
Wow.
And they called off their entire dispute after the Maharaja of Bhavnagar said that, see, you have acted as an elder brother. You did all the rituals after my father's death. I am ready to give. I have 7,000 villages under my command. At that point of time, Bhavnagar Riyasat had 7,000 villages under their command. And Maharaja of Bhavnagar said, you take away all those amount of villages which you want. And Jogidas said, boss, you are my younger brother. I don't need any more villages from you.
Wow.
So you read about Jogidas Kumar, and I think we have this artist. If I'm missing his name, Bhikudan Gadvi. If you heard about his.
Mm-hmm.
So Bhikudan Gadvi's, you listen to his Bhikudan Gadvi's Dairo, where he actually refers about the entire story of Jogidas Kumar.
Absolutely.
And Mayabai Ahir. Mayabai, I think Saurashtra. So I would recommend that you tell your non-Gujarati friends about what Dairo is actually. It's just not just a folk song. It's a story of bravery. It's a story of valor. And Dairo is actually meant to awaken the conscience of the people.
Absolutely.
So be aware about what Dairo is.
Like I actually saw a Dairo. They tried to do a Dairo in Houston. Kirtidan Gadvi came and did a Dairo, right?
Oh.
Yeah, it was about 3.5, 4 hours. And he said this wonderful Gujarati line in Gujarati. I'm going to say it in Gujarati and then I'll translate it. He's like, because Dairos usually go on for a long time, sometimes even through the night, right? He's like, bhai, 3 કલાક તો warm up માં થાય. આ તો અમને બાથરૂમ આપી છે ને બઝુકા આપ્યું છે ને કે બાથરૂમમાં ફેરવવાનું છે તમારે. What he said was that 3-3.5 घंटे तो डायरा सिंगर के लिए सिर्फ वार्म अप के लिए होता है. So this is like, you have given me a bike and given me a small bathroom and told me ride the bike in the bathroom. So I'll try to see how I can ride it. But I mean, it's brilliant, right? And Bhikudan Gadvito is the legend of Daira.
Yes.
And so Daira is a very interesting folk form where there is music, there is storytelling, and there is humor. So
there are two forms. In fact, if you know, there are two forms of folklore, folk stories in Gujarat. One is Dairo, and the second is called Bhavai. If you might have heard of it. We have Bhavai also.
Yeah. No, because of the movie Ketan Mehta made, no, Bhavni Bhavai. So
there were 2 movies, Bhavni Bhavai and Manvini Bhavai. There were
2 movies. Yes. And then also the song Bhavai, even Sanjay Leela Bansali talks about it in Hum Dil De Chuke. So I think the people outside of Gujarat do know about Bhavai, but they don't know much about Dairo. But
yes. But unfortunately, now there are very few artists of Bhavai who are left, because people, and you won't believe, our millennials, Gujarati millennials, not many of them are actually aware of the difference between Dairo and Bhavai.
यार
So I
ऐसे
think
मत
we should take this up to enlighten them that what is the difference between them.
ऐसे मत बोलो, people will think we are two uncles with लाकड़ीज talking. गुजरात के हमारे जमाने में तो ये था. So we are very much the new Gujaratis as well, but we Chhayank and I are, and maybe one day we'll do a whole podcast on the culture of Gujarat, and I do multiple podcasts on the culture of various states of India. It's just I need to learn more, I need to visit more, I need to talk about it with people more, but that's what we have Mind Podcast for.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Chhayank, for joining. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Adit, for giving me this opportunity, and it was really nice talking and sharing thoughts about elections. And I'm sure we will in 2022 also. I'm sure we will be in the
अरे उससे पहले करेंगे ना क्या 2022.
But in 2022 we'll be certainly analyzing that why BJP is on a winning streak in Gujarat. Because
who knows, we might be doing that from the ground. I really want to cover the assembly
most welcome,
from Gujarat. So let's see if I make that trip to the hometown. But sorry,
why it is significant 22, I mean victory in 2022. I think BJP will be then ahead of CPIM's performance in West Bengal.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Absolutely. And without having the people feel the threat that they did under the CPIM rule.
Yes. Exactly.
So, absolutely. So, fascinating conversation, Chhayank. Guys, I apologize if we went on the Gujarat track a little bit longer than you guys expected, but we just wanted to highlight all of this. But you will want to hear what I have to say in 2-3 days from now as well, where we talk about the history of Hindus in America and how the whole Hinduism has been covered, or how India has been covered in the Western press. That's my topic for the next podcast in 2 days. So you want to wait for that. But thank you so much, Chhayank, for joining us, and we'll be back soon. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe our YouTube channel. Thanks again from Mindmakers.
Thank you so much, Adit, for giving me the opportunity. It was really nice talking to you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks. Bye.